Hola, boa noite here in Portugal. Good news is me and Gary have had a baby. Not Mike Brodie, but the Positive Echo podcast for Portugal is a spin-off of the Positive Echo podcast that Gary and I are into 20 odd episodes. And we met in the town behind me in San Martino de Porto, the most incongruous setting and set of circumstances. But here we are with now a Portuguese spin-off of the Positive Echo podcast. And I'm sure Gary will forgive me on this first outing, this first episode, for not having my own set of corporate ID. We will work on that. And we'll have our own Positive Echo podcast for Portugal, where we're celebrating legacy and positive impact and all those good things. And here to kick it off with me tonight, thank you for being here, Sarah, by the way. Exciting times. Has it started yet? It has now. It has now. Good to see you. And the groupies are gathering. They most certainly are. The group, not for me, I hasten to add, but for Michael Brodie, who's here with us this evening to tell us about OurNet. So let's give him a round of applause, a smattering of applause, and bring him on the screen. Hi, Mike.
Hi there, Carl. Good to be here.
Good to see you. And apologies to everyone. We're a little later than originally planned. We did have some technical difficulties. But that, I guess, is only to be expected. And with the teething of new projects and new ideas, it goes with the territory in a way. However, OurNet, which I suspect you'll tell me all about. Well, I know a little bit about it, but you'll share with us the message of OurNet. Although in having some teething troubles tonight here on the Positive Echo and launching here in Portugal, it has a somewhat longer history than just this little while in Portugal. It goes back some decades, I think. So can we start there by way of telling everybody what the Positive Echo podcast for Portugal first episode star is, OurNet and Michael Brodie?
Wow, thank you. I was glad to support you, Carl.
Oh,
well, yeah, that's arrogant. So about 18 years ago, I was visiting some friends in London, and they looked at this amazing website to find out what we're going to do in the evening. And I saw it and I thought, that is just what the world needs, because it was a really horrible little website, very, very old-fashioned and very 1980s look to it.
Yeah.
But it had everything that anyone could want to find out what was going on locally, contact details for the local council, adverts for local shops, reviews, local news, just a complete local experience. And that was in a time before people were really talking about the huge growth in loneliness and separation, before Facebook actually had started, and before everyone got polarized in their views and their opinions. And I was just really taken by it, and just started talking to them very briefly about the possibility of going global, because I'm lazy in many ways. I like setting up systems, but I hate following them. So, I'm really not the person to run anything, but I am the person to think how things can be done easier and better. And they weren't interested, and so I started looking at developing a website, and no experience of that at all.
They being the owners of the original website that you saw 18 years ago.
Sorry?
They being the owners of the website you're talking about.
That's right. They being the owners. I spoke with them, and they said they'd love to give me a franchise to run a similar website in my little town of Exeter.
Yes.
But I've never been a small thinker. So I started thinking, how on earth could you make it so it's something which runs itself, where people can make contact with each other, and what do people need to do to contact each other and sort of connect with each other and arrange things with each other and make things happen. And over the last 18 years, I guess, I've just been completely obsessed by it, and this is my 7th go at launching OurNet.
Did you say 7th go?
I did, Carl.
Okay, so lucky 7 on this occasion. People, whilst we're talking more about it, people can take a look for themselves and try it out at OurNet.news. I'd love it if you would do so, and let us know. And then you can, if you have any questions for Mike about OurNet, we can address them live here on this first Positive Echo podcast for Portugal. Okay, so as I understand it, and I have worked with you on this project, Mike. I mean, when we were both here in Portugal, complete transparency, we worked together on this, and it was a great pleasure to learn about your project and attempt to develop it with you. And I was very taken, enrolled in the idea that comes from that website that you spoke about in West London, and this idea of having a community resource, but not one where I think you were not wanting to be the owner and driver of it, but true community-driven, community engagement, and crowdsourced, if you like, and an idea that needn't necessarily be a little bit 90s or old-fashioned Web 1.0, but real Web 2.0 stuff, and something that would be truly in line with the Positive Echo idea of serving humanity, of being an amazing thing to leave as a gift to society and to human beings. And it's all happening in this time of, as you mentioned, of great polarization. We are in Web 2.0 now. It is possible for people to build things together. And I think that's what this is. And then since you and I work together, we seem to be in the post-COVID, another iteration, maybe Web 3.0 or more, where this is a tool for a very fragmented, polarized world. And so is this seventh go? Is it the seventh go because now is the time? The world is ready, truly ready for an idea this big to solve the challenges that it has at this present time.
Well, if I'm honest, it's always been the time for it.
Right.
Except for one thing, that it's taken me this amount of time to grow into being the person that can actually make that happen. Because I was very, I didn't want power. I didn't want, I didn't want what one normally is looking for when one starts some sort of enterprise. It just didn't appeal to me. I was much happier being in the background, just getting on and sort of creating stuff. And so it's taken me a long time actually sort of dealing with my personal issues around what is it about me that had me trying to support other people to do things, but actually doesn't get on and do them myself. Yeah. And it's many failures, sort of six, and many learnings, sort of 6 learning attempts. I think I finally got to the place where I've got the benefit of AI and the wonderful Claude, who has basically done the programming for this site, but also that I'm ready to stand up and say, well, actually, the world needs this. I've somehow created it. I don't really quite know how. And it's there to support people to get on with their lives and create real, vibrant local communities. That's the intention anyway. I'm sure it's very inadequate at the moment, but the intention is that these communities are going to be involved in helping create OurNet, both as a platform as well as create their lives using OurNet as a support.
Very good. And I think there are a number of people here who are inspired about the idea and the message, and they would include Sarah, I think, here tonight. We have Jane as well. Kai is also here. These are all people who know a little bit about the project. Lenny, who knows about it, who we spoke to many years ago.
Oh, wow.
Great to see you here, Lenny McCoy. Good to see you. You've spotted us on LinkedIn tonight. And my goodness, a few years have passed since we talked to you, Lenny, but the idea remains the same. It's as though the technological road has risen beneath Mike's. The tide has risen. The road has risen to meet your feet, Mike, and the technological capability that you need for this. Gabby also, I think, loves the idea. Great idea. It's all about community, as she is. and doubt I will leave an echo. Okay, so talking more generally about positive echoes, doubt I will leave an echo. I'd rather come back and haunt versus just the same phrase booming endlessly. Okay, a very literal translation there, or a very literal interpretation of the positive echo. Maybe we'll have you as a guest on another occasion. But it's Mike's turn tonight. Now, are we people are you looking for at this stage, Mike?
Right. Well, this isn't the launch yet. The launch is actually on Friday at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And we actually chose, with the help of your lovely Louisa,
Yes.
a launch time which astrologically is very, very aligned with community and new growths and development.
Yeah.
So that's what we're calling the birth time of OurNet, is Friday at 8 o'clock in the evening. So the site is fundamentally live. There are still a few little gremlins which need to be sorted, but fundamentally it's usable. People can write articles, they can create groups, they can join groups, they can see what's around them, provided they live in the Silver Coast area of Portugal, because at the moment it is restricted, so that we can really get to know what's going on here and learn from that and produce a platform which is sort of highly responsive to what people actually need. Your sound has completely gone for me, Carl.
I'm going to go to an alternative sound source, which I don't think is very good, but it will at least be better than complete silence. Can you hear me now, Mike?
You're just a very faint whisper, but I can just about discern what you're saying.
I can fix that up now. How strange that
I think it's a StreamYardy thing.
Right. Well, as the actress said to the bishop, and there are funny noises. It's just me and Mike having a conversation. I think that may have sorted it out now. The other part of my earlier question, Mike, what are you hoping people will do? What will success look like to you come Friday, the official launch, 8 o'clock? And around this time, what sort of engagement are you looking for? And what will the success of OurNet look like to you? How will that manifest?
Well, at the moment, I'm very modest in terms of what my success levels, because basically, I'd like a few groups to start actively using OurNet to organise their sort of special interests. At the moment, it's even though it is locality aligned, it is initially just, you can pick up the groups in your locality, but you can only enter material in your groups initially. So the idea is to have a few groups that actually start using it to organise their own affairs. And by organise their own affairs, there are three elements at the moment. There's articles. People can publish articles, and they can either be sort of written articles, or they can be video articles, or they can create events, or they can get into chat. So it's starting to provide everything that's necessary that enables people to join together, to organise, to talk about things, to publish their opinions, to comment on opinions. The intention is that it becomes a very, very lively space that people can use to develop ideas, develop organisations, develop anything. Yeah. Basically, it's based on our human need to communicate and exchange in a variety of ways.
Right. Now, people will be familiar with those methods now with social media, won't they? The blogging, effectively, chatting, messaging each other, and grouping together to make communities. And to the untrained eye, or somebody who hasn't heard what you're about and what your hopes are for OurNet, they'll say, well, I could do that on Facebook or WhatsApp. What differentiates this? What are your hopes that will make it different? And why is this special in regard to the social media that people are used to, and the possibility that OurNet has for them?
Well, the social media that we're used to has grown because people saw the opportunity of making lots of money out of selling people's attention. for the benefit of advertisers and thus for the benefit of the platform runners.
Yes.
And, that sort of makes sense. But basically, what happens is that you are presented with material which is beneficial, not necessarily to you, but beneficial to the platforms. The whole basis of OurNet is that we completely switch that, and we switch it to that the user is actually in control. The user decides what they see, where they see it, where they get the information from. We're also, the longer term, really understanding that actually the huge growth in loneliness, confrontation, etc., is causing a real breakdown, not just in social structure, which it absolutely is, but also in personal structure as well. That people are beginning to wonder what they're doing. There's a huge number of suicides, growing number of suicides, growing sense of helplessness. And fundamentally, all that is happening because we don't have a local community around us who are there to support us. Whether it's people we particularly like or not is not necessarily the case.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually whether we got people who are doing things that service us in some way. And it can be the local shopkeeper, it can be the local, we buy organic food, so the local organic farmer, etc., etc., etc. Where people are actually there servicing each other and valuing each other for their contribution rather than what people's opinions are, fighting about what people's opinions are. We've all got opinions. I've got opinions. I know almost all of my opinions are wrong, but unfortunately I don't know which ones.
That's very Henry Ford. Okay, so more about contribution than confrontation and appealing to a different set of human motivations, you might say.
Yes.
Social media, as we know it and have become fed up with, has appealed to some urges that got us engaged and motivated, but have left us arguably quite unsatisfied and unfulfilled. And you're leading, encouraging a different set of human values, perhaps more positive and fulfilling, and that create the contribution that you're talking about. Can you say more about that? What are those values, and how will the technology enable, amplify, and enhance those, and actually have people contributing rather than confronting each other?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's not values based. It's actually based upon our psychological need to have other people around, and it's also based upon our rather animal instincts to want to survive better than the people around us. I mean, we have these two aspects: the highly selfish aspect, and also we have the communal aspect. The communal aspect needs other people. The selfish bit wants to be on top of other people. And when you look at children, they're very good at controlling their parents. If they're as you may well know. And there's nothing wrong with that, and it's necessary and it's pretty inbuilt. But we have a series of old systems where it's called the social contract, that we actually learn there are things which work when communicating with other people and other things which don't work. And that's great. And when you have a little village of 150 people or so, that works really well. You actually knew who you could trust for different sorts of things. There are people that you actually didn't like that you could trust to support you in emergencies, for example. Other people that you could trust to grow things. Other people, that you actually liked. But there's this whole grouping of people who actually had some sort of need for each other. So what has happened is our society has replaced that with central bureaucratic provision and central bureaucratic control. So the need and ability to communicate locally has almost disappeared because people follow their jobs, they follow whatever, they follow where the money is, the whole range of things that people do. But actually, people's social connections are actually very, very much weakened. And part of this came out of my experience when I was very young, where I didn't really have very much of a social. There was a sort of vague social grouping around me, but actually, I felt different. I felt my family was different to all the other families that I knew, and I felt quite a lonely and disconnected person when I was quite small. And what I ended up doing is started working with communities and supporting communities to help communities to empower themselves, because it was what I actually had wanted for myself. And you know, one of the jewels for me, which has come out of my early experiences, was my understanding of the systems that people need to enable them to get on and work with each other, promote themselves jointly. And this it's empowerment, if you like. But actually, we are empowered. It's just we choose to give our power to other people, to our local whatevers or central whatevers.
Okay, that's interesting. To go to Lenny's question before I ask you another. Jumped over from LinkedIn to YouTube. It's Lonely over there. Looking forward to understanding what the OurNet differentiator has become. Would you like to say any more about that? I mean, we've established tonight that it's more about contribution than confrontation. Are there any other differentiators? Because I want to talk about context as well, because that's really changed a lot since we first spoke to Lenny and since you and I had conversations about OurNet. But are there any differentiators in terms of how it's different from other existing social media platforms?
Certainly, the absolute intention is that we shall not be the moderators of the platform. If people are doing illegal things on the platform and we're instructed by central legal authorities to do something about it, we will do something about it.
Yeah.
We won't knowingly host illegal material. But in terms of behaviour, I think the crowd is perfectly capable of sorting itself out. One of the things which we are implementing, and it's not quite ready yet, and indeed won't be for the launch, but I don't think it's going to matter initially, is that one of the things we've developed is a reputation system, where you develop a reputation given by your peers. So, and it works on the basis of thumbs up, thumbs down, liking articles, article spreads. So there's a whole range of systems that we will put in place to gauge whether people are behaving appropriately to their neighbours. So, for example, if I were to just be abusive in comments, for example, and I get loads of thumbs down, that starts to affect my reputation.
Yep.
Now, it doesn't. It's not used to shame me, because the only person that will ever see what my reputation is me. But it will sort of diminish the spread of my abusive behaviour, for example.
Which is how real life works, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because if someone comes up to you and sort of just shouts their opinion down your throat every time you meet them, you blank them.
Yes.
But in the current social media systems, it sort of increases your reach, because you create much more of an upset, and it's the current systems actually benefit from controversy.
Yes,
because
hence useful idiots. That's what we're seeing, isn't it? Is people who are outspoken and get attention are put to the front, not because what they're saying is good. It's because that helps the platform reach more people, and therefore the advertisers who are on the platform. And that's what we're seeing, isn't it? That is a subtle differentiator, if you like,
Absolutely.
in terms of how you're trying to make this technology work. Now, to be famous, popular on social media, you either pay or you're useful, and it's regardless of the subjective quality of what you're doing, because it's about attention first and foremost. And it sounds like you're reorienting things away from attention seeking to fulfillment provision, if you like, rather than just the loudest, the noisiest wheel getting the oil. That's another thing that's being turned on its head here, or being looked at in a different way, because it's not the opposite, is it? It's the kind of complementary to what's going on at the moment.
Absolutely. It's actually encouraging people to contribute to each other in some way. And I mean, and you can contribute very well in you might be having an argument with someone or a discussion with someone, and there are different ways of handling a discussion. You can either handle a discussion of "I'm right, you're an idiot,"
yes,
or you can say, "Oh, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought of that." But there's what I wonder is what sort of effect would that have? Where you actually start to develop a conversation with people, you start to inquire into what your the overlap of understanding is, because actually fundamentally our overlap of understanding is far, far, far greater than our differences, and that's with almost everyone. We have fundamental things we do understand and do overlap, but the systems reward that sharp edge where you actually get a fight, because it's we need the fights, because the fights, the drama, the fights, they generate interest and they generate outrage, and they're great for show, but actually as a way of organising and running society, they should be sideshows rather than the central matter.
Great. Well, Lenny is asking another question here about reputation and Reddit. We'll come back to that. For example, how do we move away from polarized opinion into positive debate? Mike's described that as an intention, and we can perhaps talk more about the technology with that. But another observation I'd like to make, Mike, is another road that seems to be rising to meet your feet, and it's connected to centralization. Now, it seems to me, and I agree with you, that there's a direct relationship between how shallow conversations are and how controlled they are by distant centralized forces. And most social media platforms are now like that, aren't they? They're not run by the people who use them. They're run by the people who exploit the people who use them. And they're distant and they're centralized. And I think, the medium is the message. We've ended up with a social media world that reflects that. We have to kowtow and satisfy distant people who we don't even know, but they dictate the rules from Silicon Valley or wherever they are now. They're underground bunkers, perhaps. They dictate those rules, and because we want to be seen on these massive platforms and have a chance, we follow those rules, which may not be in our best interest, and arguably create the kind of atmosphere and quality of content we now see in those places. And that what's so interesting now in your seventh iteration attempt, and how the context and the world is changing, is people are starting to really get unsettled about centralization. It's not really working, is it? It's like fast food, which there's a lot of it, but it doesn't really satisfy or offer any nutrition. And we are seeing a wholesale breakdown of centralization, it would appear. And not only that, what's being exposed about the centralized agendas is not entirely wholesome either, is it? The thirst for power, what powerful people get up to, is all in our face now in a way that you hadn't seen necessarily. You might have had your suspicions, but it wasn't that obvious when you first started 18 years ago, but it's really obvious now. What do you say about that?
Well, I mean that's a huge topic, and
yes.
The thing is, we don't realize how centralized everything has become. For example, you go onto the platforms, you get the advertising on the platforms. The advertising takes your money. You buy things from the platform because that's the purpose of the platform fundamentally. And it then goes to the advertiser. Almost all the advertisers these days tend to be large corporate organisations,
Yes.
highly centralised corporate organisations that basically take money away from a locality and put it into the central financial system fundamentally. So the whole way in which advertising is constructed is centralised. I remember when I was young, we used to get a little sort of broadsheet going around through the front door once a week, I think, with local adverts on it and a little bit of local news. There was, the local shop had, adverts stuck up all over the walls with some local services, piano tuners and God knows what else.
Yeah.
So there was a definite locality in the local meeting places, but all those have actually gone, and all you see is adverts for Nike or Samsung or whatever. But all these large megalithic organisations over which no one has any real influence, as opposed to local suppliers and local services and people producing stuff.
Yes.
And the same has really come true of local government and local organisation. The influences are from the top down, because if you follow the money is all designed to come down from the top.
Yes.
And in that, it encourages people who are desperate for power to rise to the top.
Yeah.
So, almost by definition, the people that rise to the top of society tend to be the last people that you'd actually want to rise to the top. They don't get there because they're wise and they're generous and they're supportive. They get there because they got this need to get to the top.
Urge.
Sorry?
They have an urge.
They have an urge.
Often a not entirely savoury one. Again, as we're seeing, are being exposed. And what you just said there reflects the general trend again that brings us into the context of the situation we have right now. This level of this time of modernity, where it's like a machine that hoovers the income, the broad income at the bottom, and sucks it all up to the top. So now even somebody who does want to buy a few Facebook ads has to spend a lot to and their business model tends to be, I'm going to invest, I'm going to borrow money or get money from somewhere to push my presence up in social media so that I come to the attention of a bigger company that might buy me up. And the only route to survival is to be part of that wealth transfer from small scale grassroots based livelihood. Those people who stay there go out of business, and the ones that survive are the ones who play the game and find their way up the greasy pole a little bit, and then eventually, ultimately, get bought up by some of the big wealth magnates. And there's only a few of them at the top. Now we're waking up to this. So my question to you is, well, I think we're waking up to it. This is being exposed in quite an uncomfortable way, I think, at the moment for a lot of people. Systemic collapse, the corporations, the big globalized view of the world that we kind of put up with because we had some skin in the game is increasingly less attractive to people. Sorry for the awkward phrasing of that, but it's less attractive to people on an ongoing basis, and less so. It seems to be as each day passes, as this whole awareness accelerates. Do we have to have people sick of the system we've got to adopt OurNet? Is that what's going to have to happen? Is that the breakdown of the big system and its megalithic, monolithic way of being has to hurt people so much that they want to adopt something new? And it's like, oh, hey, presto, OurNet is there to provide us with that grassroots connection.
So I don't think that's the case. I don't think that is why OurNet will get adopted. I don't think it's going to be a political action or a I'm fed up with how things are organised. One of the interesting things about the website which initially inspired me, which is chiswickw4.com, was one day during COVID, I had a look on it, and there were 4,000 people on this little website. I don't want to be offensive. I mean, it's a fantastic little website, and it's very, very badly designed from a user interface perspective. They're very badly designed. And there were 4,000 people using this website at that time. And I looked up the population of Chiswick, which is 40,000 people. So that meant 1 in 10 people in Chiswick were on that little website, looking at little local adverts, local articles, researching property prices, having chats with each other, finding out where they can get things or what they can do. Can anyone help? Just these little conversations, these little actions, which actually are the foundations of a community. And I went on it a couple of weeks ago, thinking it would have dropped off because we weren't in COVID anymore. There were 5,500 people. That means 1 in 8 people in Chiswick, including brand new babies and senile old people, were on this site, all looking for something from
Mike,
their neighbours.
I'm on it now, and it says there are 1,200 on the site. So there's definitely something in that, despite the awkward usability, and any kind of user interface consultant would tell them, no, this will never work. But for some reason it does. And is that the point you're making?
Absolutely.
The fact that people want to use it is based on something very sticky and powerful. That is the human needs that you're articulating and want to take up to a new scale for humanity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my belief is that the people living their own lives effectively, organising them, because people are perfectly capable of organising their own lives. It's just that right has been taken away from us because we've actually sold out. And I know, having been an employer myself, I've realised that actually the whole system of employment is fundamentally a feudal concept, that you give up your time for money.
Yeah,
it's and that's fine, but it's not a way to actually have vibrant, empowered people getting around, sorting out their own lives, creating things, creating improvements in their existence and the existence of the people around them.
Yeah.
That seems to have gone for a Burton. We're now tied up in a system where money is printed to fight wars that put the future generations in debt, which sucks money away from the base of society and puts it right at the top. There's no accident there are more billionaires than ever. We're getting close to having trillionaires now. The whole thing is completely obscene.
Right, just signed up, waiting for. I think Helen likes the idea of what we're talking about, the cut of our jib tonight. And going for a Burton is an English turn of phrase, just in case you're watching this in a country where going for a Burton, if you don't understand what that means, it means what? Gone wonky, or it's not working, basically, going for a Burton. I don't know.
Yeah, it's being collapsed, being sort of destroyed.
Yes. Okay, so a couple more questions. I'm sure we'll talk again in the future. One specific one from Lenny on the sort of technological specifics, because that's who he is. That's his world. And my final question about the positive echo you would like to leave in your wake for humanity. So let's go with Lenny's first on this matter of reputation then. Thanks, Lenny, for this. And great to see you, mate. Reputation is a key part of, say, Reddit, for example, and that space is toxic, which is something we're not unfamiliar with in social media spaces. How does OurNet differ? Really interested to know more. For example, how do we move away from polarized opinion and into positive debate? So I totally get your intention, Mike, about this, and you've articulated it well about we're appealing to and employing and bringing or enabling a different aspect of humanity, a nobler one, if you like, and a more enriching and fulfilling one. How might that be done technologically?
Well, so firstly, Reddit is a fairly artificial element of people's lives. It's not fundamental to the way people organise themselves. It's fundamentally it's a publishing platform that people can publish on and have opinions about each other's views. As far as I understand, I'm not a great Reddit fan, but as far as I understand, that's how it works.
Yes.
And people there are always going to be people who behave unpleasantly. On occasion, I do myself. So having the ability to understand that it doesn't work very well is different when a large part of your life is being organized. So actually, what I really want to say is people talk about online communities, but actually hardly any of them are. The majority of online communities are groupings of people who serve a specific purpose in your life. It's not about the totality of the sort of life you lead. So reputation, you can always move around Reddit and go to somewhere else and join different groups and when you trash one area, etc.
Yes.
But it's not fundamental to your life. It's like a source
A niche
on
specialist interest rather than
absolutely
all-pervading, all-consuming reflection.
yes,
Yes, yeah,
and we want more than that.
yes, yes.
And
That's an interesting point, isn't it? Because I suppose when you niche yourself like that, and social media and the internet has allowed for that, you can be an holistic, if that's even a word. You're how you fragment yourself is part of the problem we're talking about, isn't it? You're not your whole self, are you? In the way that we've been allowed and encouraged to do so, and hide parts of ourselves. And I think that needs to happen as well, doesn't it? We need to be accepted for all we are in some way, even if it's unpleasant. And that's like a nightmare to anyone who owns a social media platform in the way that we know it at the moment. But somebody who can grapple with that problem, like we have to do in our communities, we have to take all of people in a way, don't we? I guess
absolutely,
apart from what they do behind closed doors, but still, if you live with people, you get a very different sense of them, albeit if very closely or loosely in your village or town. You get a very different sense of them to the one that they polish up and present. And this is the criticism, isn't it, of Instagram and Facebook? It's a very partial and polished view of people, and quite unrepresentative and quite false and inauthentic.
yeah, and I'm personally much more. I mean, I remember going onto Chiswick W4 several years ago, and someone posted a question in their forum, as they call it, chat, which was. I've just bought some new towels. So I've got 6 old towels that are a bit shabby, but they're fine. Does anyone know what I can do with them? And it was amazing because there's something like, I think 6 or 8 people got involved in that conversation. Someone suggesting that there's a local vets which could well use them. Someone saying, oh, I've got a car where I can help get the towels to the vets. All these little networks of conversation just sprung up around these old towels that someone was getting rid of.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing because I don't know, obviously I didn't follow up the individuals and find out what happened, but anything could have happened. Through that contact, people could have met that found out something about someone else, or God knows, who knows.
I think people do want to help, and that's an enabling of something very beautiful about people who want to help. And we see outbreaks of it all the time. I mean, even on Facebook, and definitely, I host WhatsApp groups, and you see that people do want to help each other,
Absolutely,
despite the restraint, despite the constraints and faults of the platforms. And that's what I think you're tweaking and really coming face to face with, is how these things can be properly enabling rather than enabling a different sort of agenda than actually the one we truly want as human beings, which is to connect and support and help each other on a good day, on a good day for sure.
Well, yeah, it
Uh,
we can all be horrible as well.
and I do like, I do like your your embracing acceptance of that. It's not that anyone's perfect or this is going to create a perfect world. It's just going to share people in a more authentic way and what our real motivations are, which will be an amazing experiment because it's we'd have all killed each other long ago, I think, and we wouldn't still be here if there wasn't this persistent urge for people to do good and help each other. Which takes me to my final question, Mike. Go on.
No, but it's also that we need each other.
Yes, right.
And it's the needing of each other that when we were growing up and we were socialized, we allowed ourselves to be socialized. We took on all the stories that our parents told us, so that we would feel safe and involved. And we gave up quite a lot. We had to stop having tantrums or whatever it was.
Some of it.
Taking the last thing off the plate, or there's a whole load of stuff that we picked up to have us fit in the social contract of where we were. And of course, the social contract in different places is very different. This is the difference in culture. And it is important because when you've been trained in one social contract, moving to a country with another, or an area with another social contract, which we have done, is it's very interesting to see the assumptions we make
and the opportunity you get. That's the other part of it. That's the reward, isn't it? Is that in that opening up, you get a chance to grow.
Yes.
As well, which I think is part of what your offer is as well. That it's not all on a plate. It's not a complete solution. It's an opportunity and a challenge in a way as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Lenny's just signed up and interested to see how this pans out. Oddly enough, I'm helping out with a digital detox process using retro tech, and we are developing a BBS. I don't know what that is, Lenny, a BBS to simplify, using a Commodore 64. Well done, sir. Will contribute, he says, to OurNet and look forward to seeing it grow. Is there a virtual village there? It is a virtual village. That's where the phrase came from, wasn't it, Mike? The virtual village.
Absolutely.
It's what OurNet is all about. Fake profiles and trolls are a problem on Facebook, etc. And if there is a troll on or an agitator on OurNet, their reputation will make them less visible over time. Is that correct?
That is so. We haven't actually tried it yet. I believe so.
Yes. Okay. All right. Very good. We see it 365 days on Facebook groups. I think that's how people do help each other. Interesting topic of conversation because you're a great facilitator, Jacqueline. You're definitely an OurNet community pioneer sort of person. I think who is a leader in terms of seeing the best in people and wanting to help people. It's a good fit. Thank you for being here tonight, Jacqueline. Lenny saying, lovely to see igualmente, as we say in Portugal. Lovely to see you again as well, Lenny. Lucky seventh time for Mike's seventh iteration and effort in launching OurNet. Bulletin board system. Okay, so that is old school, isn't it? A bulletin board system. Thank you very much for that. And this connects with my last question that I want to ask you, Mike. Take as long as you want with this, and we will talk again, but take as long as you want on this first Positive Echo podcast, Portugal edition specifically, that I'm picking up and running with Gary Coulton. It's his idea, the Positive Echo podcast, and we have his blessing to launch our own little Portuguese flavored version of it. Sarah says, I really think once people use it, they will really see the possibilities for the future of supporting our communities, the ones we see in the streets. And there's that theme of localization right there. This may be part of it, Mike, but in general terms, within the idea of a positive echo, what is it you want to? I mean, I think this is your legacy and your gift to humanity. This is a big deal for you, isn't it? It's preoccupied you. This is, you've been interested in nearly 2 decades of development of this, and this is your 7th go at launching it. How do you see it in terms of a positive echo and legacy for humanity?
So I've done this from my own for my own growth. Now, it hadn't occurred to me like that. It's occurred to me like I've been trying to do it. The idea came to me, and I've been trying to do it in the way that everyone told me it should be done.
Yes.
So I should do a startup. I should blah 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 blah. Just a whole range of things. I should set up a company. I should do it. I should get venture capital. I should and actually, none of those have suited me because you know, I'm okay. You know, I was very well, I don't know, far-sighted in seeing the potential of Bitcoin a while ago. So, you know, I'm not wealthy, but you know, I've got enough to live off and my pension, etc., etc. Life's fine, and I've got a little bit to spare. That actually, this is my hobby. My hobby is actually creating a system that works for the people around me.
Yes.
And we all leave a legacy. And I don't know whether this is my legacy or not. I'm just doing it as a hobby now.
Well, that's very, very modest of you.
Thank you.
I do sense that you want to impact humanity positively and give them your hobby here. It will give humanity something useful that will make the world a better place. And I use the word advisedly and with some caution.
Hello. I'm sorry, Carl. You completely disappeared. I've just got you back.
Oh, okay. I do get the feeling that your hobby is, as you put it.
Unfortunately, I can't hear what you're saying.
Okay, well, I'll carry on just in case people can hear what I'm saying. I think Mike's very modest, and that this is about a positive impact on humanity. But time will tell. We shall see. And Mike's disappeared off the screen. I do thank you, Mike, for joining me for this first episode of the Positive Echo podcast for Portugal. And I also want to share a little image here that maybe Mike will see in another in the reviewing in the rewatching of what we've talked about tonight. And it's a little poem, which I think, and for some reason I just sent it to myself on WhatsApp, and I do quite a lot of that because I don't want to miss things, and I do want to share things. And I didn't know where this was going to get shared, but it looks like it's tonight. And it's a poem, and I don't know who's written it. That's sadly, it's called "The Elephant in the Room," as you can see there on the screen. The room is almost all elephant. And I think this is the context. This is the time that Mike is sharing his idea. When the room is almost all elephant, almost none of it isn't. This little poem goes on to say, pretty much solid elephant. There's no room to talk about it. And if this Positive Echo podcast, if Mike's OurNet allows that little bit of room so that we're not completely inundated and overwhelmed by the elephant in the room at the moment, which I think we all get a sense of, right? We're squashed in some way by the elephant in the room, the thing that we've come to accept as normal life.